The following program is rated TVMA. This program may contain strong opinions, explicit language, and possible adult themes. The opinions expressed are not necessarily those of the Smoke Free Radio Network or its affiliates. This program is meant for mature adult audience. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
Hey folks, P. Basardo here, and you're listening to the Smoke Free Radio Network.
That was interesting.
Good evening, everybody. Mike Peterson coming back with another edition of Vaping in the Mic. A little bit different of things as they're going along this evening. Audio hum. Here's the thing that we're going to try to do this evening. We're going to go ahead and check in with our guests here in a minute. We have had an awful lot of things going on in the news this week alone. Last week was, God knows, it was everywhere and everywhere that you wanted to be. And it turned around and it said, you know something? We're just going to have to see what's happening. So this evening I turned around and Bill Tarling, our guest this evening, has joined just to help me flesh out some different things. Everybody say hello to Mr. Bill Tarling.
Hey, Mike.
How are you, Bill?
Well, if the shoe fits.
Yeah. I'm beginning to sit and wonder how you are dealing with everything up in Canada, because we are getting slammed with T21s, bills. I didn't even pull up. Lindsay Stroud, good God, I got your name on my brain. Lindsay Stroud had sent me her upgraded Excel sheet of all of the bills. And combine that, there's like 300 pieces of legislation that are going on right now. And it's like, oh my God, where the hell did all this stuff come from? And
just think a few years ago, about 2-3 years ago, everyone's going, vape tax. Why would they ever tax it here? Tobacco 21, we aren't even tobacco. They won't do that to us. Oh, they won't pass regulations. They won't put us in smoke free. Fast forward a few years later, everything that they were warned about, yeah, it's being passed. And we get hit with what happens in the States. Health Canada is now using the FDA, Center for Disease Control, of the Surgeon General in the U.S. to pass the same things here, saying, oh, we've got the exact same thing happening here. No, we don't.
No, there is no teen vaping epidemic shit. There is, oh my God. And if you guys are actually using this if Canada is using it as a playbook, serious problems are going to be running amok all over the place. The first thing that I wanted to talk about, because it is huge when we're talking about taxation, we turn around, if we were to look at New York just passed a wonderful piece of legislation. They raised the age, well, I can't say passed as of yet, it passed one house. They raised the age to buy tobacco. They did a T21, and they're saying it's expected to follow in the coming weeks. And they give everybody, if I am not mistaken, if I read through this, 120 days after the governor says that, yes, I support it. And he's already voiced his opinion, saying, yes, I'm behind a T21 all the way.
Como's already said that he's going to sign it. So,
and this, This is huge for people because, again, end caps. You've got California and you've got New York. And these are the first two of the major players. And other states go, oh, well, California passed it. Oh, well, shit, now New York passed it. Maybe we should pass it. And it's going to become de facto. Go ahead.
I've been saying for years that people got to realize precedence is one of the biggest things in legislation. So if they pass in California, and they aren't going to try and pass it statewide first, what they do is pass it in a bunch of the smaller areas within a state and say, oh, see, we have so many people already passing this locally. We should just make it statewide. And then statewide does it. Then the next state goes, well, look at all those places doing it. And, you know, right across the border, if they can get it at 18 and everything, we got to raise ours too. And they use that. And they do it for every single anti-vaping regulation. And the thing to remember with New York is Como, from the start, has blocked licensing for any new vape shops in a lot of areas. He wants the T21. He wants the flavor ban. He wants everything. So anything that they put forward, you know, once it reaches his desk, no hesitation. Signed, done. Goodbye vaping.
And that's the one thing.
And we can get back to our tobacco tax collection.
Yeah,
yes.
Right back to taxes and the MSA money. We could talk all night about that alone. But in that article, it even mentioned that they have several other pieces of legislation that are going to be following behind this. The chief one of those being flavor ban.
Yep.
And I hope that people are paying attention, because that's enough to scare the hell out of anybody, is a flavor ban. Because it is not just something little. They're talking a flavor ban across the entire state, number one. And number two, all of the states that are trying to do a flavor ban are going to use it as fuel. Yep. And it's going to come rolling across. And Kentucky passed, you know, okay, we're going to knock down the T21. And they did, and I'm glad. And from my understanding, they also defeated the second one, where they had children come in, minors come in and sit at the table to give their reasons why.
They will always bring in the minors and by the busloads. They don't just bring in one or two kids. They actually do bus them in. If you look at when Matthew Elliott was down at Suffolk, they had brought in 2 or 3 full buses. Now, the only good thing was enough vapors showed up that there was no room for them to get in, so only a couple of them even got to speak. But usually they'll be given all the first spots in a hearing and the closing spots.
Where do they even get off bringing kids in and thinking that they should be part of this narrative when A, they can't vote, B, and I know everybody has already said this before, but when the FDA did the ANPRM, they had all of us people give them our stories, and they called all of us anecdotes, and yet all of these kids can sit in a hearing and
accept it as scientific fact.
Their story is okay.
Yep.
They're
actually claimed as scientific fact. One thing you got to remember is people don't realize there actually is a tobacco playbook, a written tobacco playbook of agendas and techniques and usage. Reason the kids are brought in is because no matter what the topic is, if it's an oil spill, we bring in the kids and say, we're doing this for the kids, whatever. The reason they do that is if you say, we disagree with you, they can turn around and say, you must really hate kids. And so it's strictly a marketing and public opinion ploy. The legislators are going to bring them in and they're going to listen to them. And, oh, yes, see, we pay a lot of attention. You kids are so important to us. See, people, we're really good. We listen to the kids. So it becomes appearance. And it's known that can be played. What we got to start doing is saying, why the hell are you trying to hurt kids?
And they are. Everybody.
But we never call them on it.
Nobody ever does, because they're either afraid or their narrative isn't quite correct. There was a piece in this article that really grabbed my attention. It said, but the measures, and this is the T21 that they passed in New York, so we agree Current trends in underage e-vapor use must be addressed. Tobacco harm reduction for adults cannot succeed without effective measures to reduce underage use of all tobacco products. Altria Group said this. Do people really have rocks in their head? I mean, Altria, for years, every other smoking tobacco, anybody, wanted to ding and get all of the kids that they could get to smoke, and they pandered to them. And
that
now
was
all of a
actually
sudden,
in the 50s and 60s, that was in their memos and instructions throughout the tobacco companies was, we need to reach the kids, get them started early.
And yet,
and that was actually in their memos.
And yet now here they are saying we have to address this. And where the flying fuck do they get off even thinking about saying that tobacco harm reduction for adults cannot succeed without effective... Really?
They have no intentions of it being... They know better. But how do you get rid of the industry that is causing them the most competition, which is the consumer-generated version of vaping?
Yep.
Let's pass these legislations, because guess what? The stuff's still going to be available in the C-stores and gas stations, their versions. Why are Altria and Juul saying, you know what, we really should get rid of the flavors? Why? Because they say we only need to keep tobacco and menthol. Gee, what flavors do the main brands of cigarettes come in?
Yeah, and that's it.
And menthol.
So they want all of the flavors banned, and they want them all gone so that they can continue selling their product only. And for the people...
Quick thing for people, just to put it into perspective, why a flavor ban would completely destroy the industry. Currently, you go into a shop, or even if you order online, but let's say go into a brick and mortar vape shop. You've got 150, 250, 500 flavors to choose from.
Right.
You've got a ton of devices to choose from. You can mix and match, get it set just right for what you need. Now, cut those, let's say 150 flavors down, and you have 5 bottles of juice available because everyone else had to go out of business because they weren't allowed to sell their product.
Yep. So
now you have a shop that is expected to sell only 5 bottles of juice. Most of their devices won't work with them anymore. Companies aren't going to bother making the mods or anything because what are you going to use it with? You only have the 5 brands. Those 5 brands are going to end up in every single shop. And you're keeping people on tobacco flavors. A shop cannot survive if they only have like 5 bottles of juice that they can sell and a couple of devices. You can't stay open.
No.
And the Altria, Philip Morris, Juul, they know that. But in the C-stores, part of the deal with the C-store with Juul and Altria was to get them put in with their Marlboro products. It's over 70,000, might even be 100,000, might be 200,000. I've heard different wordings, but I've read at least 70,000 shops where they would be carried. So that's a win for Juul. So why would we want flavors when we want to be with the tobacco, which are consistent sales? There's steady sales. And if there's nothing to compete, get people off of smoking.
Yeah, they'll go right back to smoking. And it is one of those things.
We don't need flavors if we can keep them on tobacco.
Yep.
Well, they'll just buy more of our products.
You mentioned stores. Juul, and there was one article, it's been out there for a little while. One article says Juul has kind of become a little bit of contrition, saying that they're only going to expand this year to 20,000 new stores.
Yeah.
And I sat down, and folks, 20,000 new stores this year alone is 54 new locations every day of the year, including weekends and holidays. So that's their contrition, is they won't expand as quickly.
And even though they say they won't expand, as you say, that's new stores. Part of their deal is Altria can say, well, we're partnering with the brands. And as a matter of fact, Altria will be taking on a bigger part in the board for Juul. That's scheduled for up ahead. And they are going to be using all their marketing to put it. As a matter of fact, they're going to be advertising Juul in their cigarette packs now.
Yes.
Why?
I
well,
did
because
read that.
Buy Juul or whether you buy cigarettes, we get the sales. But even if they only do 20,000 new store expansions, well, they can go in with Altria anyhow and say, oh, but we've already had our Marlboro here, so that's not a new location. We're just adding one of our products in there.
Oh my God. That is something I did not think about. So everywhere that there's a pack of Marlboro, they're already going to say that's an existing
We've already got
location.
our products there.
Oh my God.
Juul is already looking at about a 3.8%, and I think it's actually higher now, increase.
Yeah, I know that Juul's just going to town. And I know that the FDA, that brings up the second point. I know that the FDA is absolutely furious with Juul and people selling tobacco. And
what's the one thing the FDA has done? Every argument they make, youth vaping, Juul, youth vaping, Juul, the nicotine. If you remember, it was only about a year and a half ago that the big thing was kids are starting to use these vape devices more and more. We're finding them more and more. And then it came out, yeah, over 80% are zero nic. It's Juul. Therefore, if a kid is vaping, it is strictly nicotine e-juice. And because of one independent company that the industry has no control over, no authority over, and cannot dictate what they can or can't do, the entire industry is facing regulations because of the one company, and we are being penalized for it, even though that's those C-stores and gas stations, those aren't even our market. We don't go there.
We stay in shops. Now, there are some companies that have gone to C-stores with their little 10, 15 mil, 30 mil bottles.
There are also some tray companies, which are like your bargain bin companies, and they'll have like the old style, but with a little fake version of even an iClear 16 on it.
Yep.
Not even very well made, and they know that they won't last, but they come in a little plastic wrapper, and they sell those. But when the stores order them, like there's one, well, I'm not even going to name the company, but one in Canada I came across, and I tried one, and I figured back then there wasn't much available. This was before Chris's shop opened nearby. I tried one, and I'm going, oh my God, this is so awful. And I tried 2 or 3, and I'm going, this, even as much as I need to, no.
Yes, this is not going to work.
And what they do is they would sell to the C stores in trays. Here, you can either buy a multi-flavor pack, or you can buy a juice pack, which has your pre-allocated. You have no mix and match. It's just, here's your tray of juices. This is what you will sell. And so they're basically bargain bin companies that, they don't care who buys it or who sells it.
No, they're just out to make a quick buck. Yeah. This piece of news, this second piece, is talking about Gottlieb and taking new forceful actions. The reason that this one came out is because all of the hell that came about from Walgreens. I mean, if we go down, but again, they're talking about kids and e-cigarettes and epidemics, and I mean, if they were to load one sentence with all their words, it would sound like World War III just finished and we're all going to die tomorrow.
And if you look at the list of the offenders in there, it's not vape shops.
No.
They're all retail shops.
And this is what is killing the vaping industry that we know. E-vapor products. Violation rates between 35 and 44%. If they went to a vape store, like Chris's store, and he had violations between 35 and 44%, they would shut him down tomorrow.
Well, you're second or third for any vape shop, you lose your business license. So that's one thing I've been saying for years we need to do is get vape licenses. Businesses licensed as specialized vape shops. You can always have exclusions if you're in, let's say, a remote area that hardly has any available shopping anywhere. So if you're in a remote area, you might be able to allocate, say, we can give an exception for that location because it's not near an urban center or anything. But we need vape license. That way, And it's not for, let's say, it's not for a head shop, which carries their bottles, their cannabis, their whatever else, and vape. It's for specialized vape shops. We would be the only one, we should be the only ones allowed to carry anything that's second generation or higher, because these devices should not be sold by anyone who doesn't have a clue what they're selling.
No, you're going to get some high school or barely above 21 to be able to sell beer that has never seen a vape device, would have no clue what these are, what goes in them, how they function, batteries, nothing.
And you mix and match the wrong way, or put in the wrong batteries, because the person behind the counter says, oh, well, these came in, they said that they're good, here, buy these.
And what ends up
for
happening?
Second generation higher, because they are adjustable, refillable, and everything else, it does take added expertise, instructions, safety instructions, handling, maintenance instructions, all that. So that's why you keep that strictly to a licensed vape shop.
I would agree.
They say, if they say, oh, but kids are buying these vape products, yada yada. Put it this way: if a vape shop is licensed as not a tobacco license, but a vape store license, and they have an offense, they start selling to 14, fine, give a big fine the first time, second time, or even third, you can say, guess what? Your license, business license, is pulled. You can no longer sell these products.
No. And,
so
and
that puts the onus on the vape stores to at least enforce it. For the C stores, if they're still selling to kids, it's a case of, hey, guess what? Those aren't our products, and they are not allowed to sell our products.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Therefore, if you see kids with those products, you know damn well where they're coming from.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people, I'm looking here in the chat room, there's a lot of people that are agreeing very close to it. Kevin, Nicole, I see Tom in here, Thomas, Ed West, but they're all, even Tammy. And I will swear she would beat me within an inch of my life if I tried to if I pronounced her name and mispronounce it. So Tammy M, I see you. But these people are all they all feel the same way, because we're all doing the same thing. We're trying to keep an industry alive that is saving people's lives, hands down. And now we have Juul.
That gives us separation from the C stores. No, I don't like Juul, but nope. I would love to see Juul or any of those closed pod systems in every single C store, gas station, any of those stores at all. Mainly because that's where the average smoker is going to get their first try.
Yep.
What we want to do is then be able to piggyback off it. So they try and they go, it's not great, but I can see it might work. I'll try it a little more. And basically it takes away some of the fear of vaping is more dangerous than smoking. It will kill you. Toxic fumes will be everywhere and melt the flesh off your kids. They will take some of that fear off that aspect. So then they might go, it's not good, but you vape stores are supposed to have better stuff.
Yes.
Let me try that now. In other words, take some of that fear-mongering away from them.
It would be nice if that could happen.
It won't, but that's what we need to push for, is a separation. Our biggest problem right now, any piece of legislation that comes out, we are lumped in with cannabis, CBD, we're lumped in with cigarettes and tobacco data, we're lumped in with those little gimmick personal aromarizer health devices.
Yeah.
All these things. We keep getting lumped in with their data. We cannot even separate ourselves, and that's what we have to do. We have to separate ourselves from an e-cig, which is basically like first generation device, or even a closed pod system. Leave those, the reason you leave those in the C stores and gas stations, they're buy and go. Your instructions: drop in, use. You don't have all that maintenance. It's finished, throw out. New one, drop in, use. So you don't have to worry about those safety margins or anything else, really. It's just buy and go. So leave that there. We can piggyback off them. Now, if the kids and so on have it, then we can turn around and say, by the way, your Juuls are coming from the C stores. We carry vape products.
And that's a
Second
big
generation
distinction.
and higher.
It is a huge distinction.
And
Now,
until we can separate ourselves from every other vape type,
see,
we're dead.
here's the thing. I think that there might be a cusp of that. Kentucky had tried to do a T21, and it failed. They tried a second time, but in the second time, they also tried to separate. We want vapor products to be 21 or older. Meanwhile, combustible cigarettes is 18.
smoking will still be 18. Yep.
Which would at least separate us from tobacco.
Not necessarily, because we would still be classified because of Juul, because of Blue, because of Vape and all these other big tobacco ones. We're still associated with the smoking, even if they say vaping itself is more dangerous, therefore we have to raise the age. Well, no. We know that's false, but the general public, people are going, can't the public just automatically see this? It's so blatantly obvious. We look at this all the day.
Yeah.
We look at all the details. We look at the research. You can't expect the general public to go out and see someone and he's saying, oh my God, he's saying, let me do some research on that, find out if there's anything No, they aren't going to do that.
No, they don't care. My father-in-law, Mel, is a shining example because he used to smoke. He quit cold turkey decades ago. But he's a shining example because he watches a lot of Squawk Box, a lot of Fox News, a lot of news channels. He's addicted to the news. And he comes over, he and my mother-in-law will come over and we'll play cards. But the thing being, when he first gets here, he needles me because he knows, one, it's going to set me off, but two, because I don't know. And he is the typical person of what populous America would look like, simply because they watch the news, they hear one thing only, and Juul's this, Juul's that, teen epidemic, nicotine this, nicotine that, and he'll come over and tell me all these things. So what about this? What about this? So the first 20 minutes is nothing but trying to defend vaping products like this against a piece of shit like Juul.
And that's why everything is Juul, 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 kids.
Yep.
Nicotine, 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 kids. Juul, 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 Juul. Proof that we need vaping regulations.
It is. And that article right there is talking about the very same thing. Violators, they're not vapor stores. Marathon, Sunoco, BP
have thousands and thousands of stores too.
Thousands of locations.
Mm-hmm. So they don't care if one gets fined. It's a case of, cost of doing business.
And that's it too. But think about this. They're saying 35 to 44% of all the inspected stores of Marathon, Exxon, Sunoco, BP, Citgo, and Mobil. Now, you know that they did not inspect every store. And those companies have tens of thousands of stores. So 35% of 10,000 stores every day has an infraction happening. 3,500 infractions by one company.
Then all the legislative stuff. Juul is proof that the vaping industry, and remember, Juul is one independent company. We have no authorization, no say over.
Correct.
Juul is proof that the vaping industry is getting these to kids. You go to the schools, all these kids have Juuls. Now, first of all, when's the last time you ever saw a 6-inch flash drive? So to say, oh, it looks like a flash drive, so it can't be. No, flash drives are like that. You don't have a 6-inch flash drive even 10 years ago.
No. At most, they were like this. 2.5. Yeah. Is that a flash drive in your pocket, Johnny? Are you happy to see your teacher?
Think of the public and think of mom and pop who don't know any better. They're just, but we want to protect our kids. And, oh, my God, they say that this Juul, they're using these Juuls, which are, what are Juuls? Vaping. Oh, so my kids are vaping, and why do we need to get rid of Juul? Vaping, dangerous.
Yes.
Oh, so if someone has anything to do with vaping, they're trying to kill my poor little Johnny? Oh, my God. You have to stop.
And that's exactly what they're doing all the way around. And Bill
Tobacco
brought up
Playbook 101.
He brought up a thing, and this is what is killing a lot of us right now. Is you can't be an ostrich in what's going on. The time to sit and do nothing about things, or sit and just brew about it, is over. It's over. It's done. And think about New York if you have to. New York passed their T21. They're going after flavors, and if their track record is going to hold true, flavors in New York are in deep shit.
They are. And once Cali's pretty much gone with the legislation there. Once New York goes through too, and if you notice, it's all the places where they're be bankrupt because of their MSA, because they've cashed in with all their bonds and everything, and all their budget is based on that. I mean, less than 1% is basically even goes to health services. So they need that revenue. And
Yep.
if people are not smoking enough, they aren't getting that revenue to even meet their bill. And
No, and it's becoming a
there
problem.
are actually 7 states that will go bankrupt if people stop smoking.
And people need, that's one thing, another, I can't say one. It is one of many things that the general public does not know about the MSA. You walk out to Joe Public and you go, vaping, MSA, tobacco. And they would go, yeah, I heard Juul is bad. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And tobacco, cigarettes. And
Or the question would be, well, this vaping stuff is big tobacco, so why aren't they taxing? They should be taxing vaping stuff just like cigarettes.
yeah.
And they don't realize that, no, you're actually, by getting people to switch, and this is what happened with the UK. Public Health England was very anti-vaping at first. Now, the only difference is their lung associations, heart associations, when they do the research, it's third party, and yes, pharma and big tobacco will have to contribute to it, but they have zero say in what's checked. And they actually went out and put together a study, and they originally intended this will prove our point, and we can finally get rid of vaping to begin with before it becomes a problem. When the study came out, it was a case of, wait a minute, this can save us a fortune for health costs.
Yep.
And if you remember their picture with the clock of time to switch, that was first brought out on a very, very minimal budget, but they put that out. And then they came back after looking at the figures and they're going, this is getting people to switch and get off of smoking so fast that even the money that we spent in the marketing is barely even a drop in the bucket compared to what we just saved in health costs.
Yep. And they get it. England gets it. They're doing something about it.
That's why they are pushing for it actively now. They have seen how much it not only saves them the cost, but they've also found that their youth are not taking up smoking. So even if they experiment with vaping, now I'm not talking about the nic salts, just talking about regular vaping.
Right.
There was an article, and I've mentioned this before. I've still got to track it down. I lost my one hard drive with all my bookmarks, so I have to find it again. But it was from about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, an article in a UK paper, and they had been following the young smokers for about 2 or 3 years already and revisiting, seeing, are you still vaping? Are you still smoking? Whatever. And they'd found that most of them, by the time they hit 22 to 24 years old, basically had gotten bored of vaping. They might grab an e-cig with them if they go to the bar with their friends, but they go, no, we kind of outgrew that. So it's not a case of, well, your nicotine is going to addict them.
No.
Because you haven't got those boosters that are intensifying that addiction. So it's a case of, yeah, you can walk away from it. But now the pharma is actually pushing and promoting vaping cessation drugs and vaping cessation programs through the pharmaceutical companies.
Yes. And they're losing money. Go to any Walmart, go to any convenience store. Well, not so much convenience. Gas stations, Walmart, places of that nature. And you will see Nicorette gum. If you go to Walmart, and everybody's taking pictures of it, I did it myself. You go to Walmart, nicotine gum on the shelf, within reach.
Toddler level, usually.
It is. It's below my belly button. And I'm like, oh my God, really? And some of it in such a high nicotine concentration. Okay, so if there is a nicotine epidemic, why is this shelf filled with product?
Pharma products are protected.
And because it doesn't effing work.
Yep.
Nobody wants it. All right, folks, we're going to take a break here just for a second. When we come back, we're going to talk about the other piece of bombshell kind of news that hit the market this
Something
week.
else happened in the industry?
No, nothing has happened in the industry. Nothing. We'll be right back, folks.
Hey now, this is Dimitri with Smoke Free Radio reminding you to please show some love to our wonderful sponsors. Without them, there would be no Smoke Free Radio, and they are as follows. All the way from Florida, Moon Mountain Vapor, with locations in Florida, and their liquid available for wholesale and retail, moonmountainvapor.com. Some of the best custards and tobaccos on the market from the Brickwills Vaping Company. The lovely Shell with a vapor bar, locations in Texas, Virginia, and West Virginia. And of course online at thevaporbar.com. And who says you can't have award-winning e-liquid without cartoon characters? That's exactly what you're going to get at theplumeroom.com. And finally, of course, the Vaping Advocate magazine that has generously provided the telephone lines for you to communicate with us. Thank you for your support. And finally, for you, the listener, don't forget to check out the coupons and codes page on Smoke Free Radio. Pick up some e-liquid and save some money. From all of us here at Smoke Free Radio, thank you for your continued support.
Hey folks, P. Basardo here, and you're listening to Vaping and the Mic with Mike Peterson.
Welcome back, everybody. You're here this evening with myself and guest Bill Tarling. Just as a quick update or reminder, if you would, please, the other sponsor, and Dimitri is going to make a new audio track to go with that, is Juno. Juno is also a sponsor of the Smoke Free Radio Network, and they are a very, very good replacement for the Juul. So instead of buying a Juul, please pick up a Juno. You will thank people for it as you go along. Trust me. All right.
And you do have your phone lines open tonight.
I'm sorry?
You do have your phone lines open tonight, right?
Yes. Phone lines are open. See, I keep forgetting about that. I get so busy wrapped up in what we're doing. If anybody wants to call in, they've got a question, they want to say something, they want to jump on the air, right there on the screen, 215-383-5752. We'd be glad to hear from you. The next little piece of everything, it is such a small little thing, I guess, but it's that wonderful piece that grabbed everybody's attention. Scott Gottlieb resigns. The head of the FDA is going to resign, but he's going to stick around for a month. He's not going out the door. He's not giving a 2-week notice. He's sticking around for a month. Now, this caused a lot of shockwave. A lot of people, I saw both sides of that story. I saw people going, yes, this is fantastic news. And I saw people like Phil Basardo going, time out, folks. Just relax. Let's wait and see what happens. Ironically, hold on. Ironically, and I'm going to say it, right when he said that he was going to retire and he was resigning, guess what happened? Tobacco stocks went up immediately.
And Joel.
All of them, their stocks went up the minute that he said he was going to resign. So, you have a good idea of what might happen. But let's play this scenario out a little bit. Now, Bill, I apologize. I cut you right off. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I agree with Phil. Keep calm and don't jump to conclusions. We'll find out what happens.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean we sit and just wait doing nothing. Because guess what? The moment that announcement came out, all the ads, tobacco campaign for killing kids, all those organizations, they jumped in every ear they could find. And the thing is, they're organized. So it's not a case of we can sit back and say, well, we'll wait, see if we get somebody good or somebody bad, and then we'll figure out what to do. We have to be in ears now.
And that is so true that it's not even funny. This all came about, and if people don't believe that this stuff is scripted, they have rocks in their head. So Gottlieb finally took his paperwork of what he wanted to see the White House do. And that was, we want to cut all flavor out from every convenience store, gas station, that big list of people that were the infringers. He wants to cut all flavors out from them.
Pause for a second.
Go ahead.
Something to make sure people understand. A lot of people cheered, yay, that gets rid of them. We are separate, so we are safe. No. They want flavors gone, first of all, from those C-stores and so on. Because what flavors do they want to keep? Tobacco, menthol, mint.
Yes.
Nothing else. Why? What flavors do tobacco cigarettes come in? Oh, yeah, tobacco, menthol, mints.
And there's going to be...
Yeah, they're saying, yeah, we got no problem. We can get rid of our mango. They know that once that goes through, it's nothing for legislation to then go, you know what? We should just make it across the board for everybody.
We need to be fair about this. So everybody, no flavors. Unless there was a caveat in all of that. I wish I would have pulled this up on the screen earlier, but there was a caveat. If you had a separate room behind a door and somebody age verification at the door, so somebody's grabbing licenses or ID, okay, you're old enough, you can go in. If convenience stores had that, they could continue to sell flavors.
Yeah, it's not worth the cost for them though. They don't need the flavors.
This is half a step away from every vape shop in the U.S. Half a step. Because if this goes through, guarantee you, every vapor shop will have to have somebody standing at the door to card everybody that comes in. Because they will.
Passing something like that here in BC with Bill 14 a couple of years ago. And now vape shops must black out their windows. You cannot be able to see in. Even if you go up to the window like this at night, it can't just be shaded. It has to be blacked out. In Quebec, they not only have to black it out, they also have to keep their products covered in store. Because if a door opens, oh my God, Mommy, I saw a bottle that looked like it had something in it. Oh, Mommy, what are you doing over there at the sex shop? No, Mommy. And they go, and they follow Mommy into the sex shop, but no, can't let them see vapor. No. That'll kill them.
Adult toys they can go and they can look at with their parent all day long, but you can't go into a vape store. But it is something that I don't know if a lot of people have really thought about. If they go ahead and they push this through and they make it so that you have to have a closed door and a separate room, it's going to be all the C-stores are going to stand there and go, well, don't vapor shops have to do this same thing? If we have to do it, don't they have to do it? And if you think that they're not, if you think they're not going to be a bunch of whiny crybabies about it, but like Bill said, most of them, they don't really care. because all they're going to sell is mint tobacco and menthol anyhow. But
which will still be allowed for them.
But if they actually pass this, how many vapor stores are going to be able to put in either A, a vestibule, or B, black out all their windows and all their counters so that if the door does open, they don't see anything? And how many vapor stores are going to be able to afford a man standing there carding everybody? And I've heard
they did try passing that, and they realized that that would make logical sense, which is why they had the blackout windows. But they go, if any kid enters there, they have to be carded immediately, which is fine. I mean, Chris does that anyhow, and that's why the kids hate his shop, because they know that they can't even walk in there. Now, the part that, if you remember on his interview, he didn't mind it so much, mainly because he didn't have to look at everything going on. But it also means that you can't see when the kids are approaching an adult to come in and buy. You can't see what's happening around your store. And for safety, if something is happening inside your shop, something dangerous, like you're being robbed or anything, nobody on the outside can even see it.
Nope.
So there are danger factors there too. Whether or not you have a person there is irrelevant, because they can always just say, just put a divider when he first opens, so if the door opens, he can't see. So you just have a little 3-foot mini divider, and that's how a lot of them can get away with it. Black out the windows, that's fine. And it's not just going to be curtains or blinds. It has to be blacked out. But it will spread. The convenience stores and so on, we don't need that. We're only selling the tobacco, mint and menthol ones. So, yeah, we agree. This should be in every shop that sells any of these products that are flavored. Why? Because we don't sell those products. The vape stores sell those products.
Yep.
So that's why they'll gladly support it. And what happens at the FDA and for legislators, see, we got big tobacco on our side. They agreed we are doing the right thing by hammering down on this.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't affect them.
They're not going to be hammering on anything except killing a vaping industry. Now, let's backtrack just a little bit. So this guy is going to resign. And a lot of people are saying, hey, that's wonderful news. That's great. Our enemy is out the door. Wrong. Dead wrong. You have somebody that is his assistant or somebody that works right under him that is probably going to be carrying the torch until a new appointee. Yep, he's the intern. Somebody else is going to be coming in. And this is why I want to sit and wait and see what really happens. Yep. You get somebody new that comes in.
The list has already started for some of the potential people, including some of the people who've already been working at the FDA and know what's going on. But don't forget, Gottlieb also said, by the way, when he leaves, he expects them to continue and put all these in process, which is why he's setting them up to do now.
Yes.
Like one of the people that they're looking at, one of the top candidates is Sharpless, who was working at the National Cancer Institute. But when you start checking out his background, his previous records, and at the National Cancer Institute, oh, imagine that. They're all very anti-vaping. It must be shut down. Another candidate was Admiral Brett, I'm going to butcher his last name, but Gerard, MD. And again, he has had a thing where teens and nicotine, we need to discuss this. We use the CDC data and from the Surgeon General for our information. Let's discuss it. So he's not even pulling anything from anywhere else. It's strictly from CDC, FDA, and Surgeon General. So if he gets in, don't expect somebody happy with us. So
it's not.
We do have to wait and see who's going to come in before we can know if or how bad it is.
It could go.
I don't think we're going to get lucky with somebody just ignoring everything and saying, no, let's say vaping.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
I don't either. The chances of that are slim. To me, slim and none. Because they're going to be looking at a couple of different things. Even if they did get somebody that came in and said, you know what? All your rules, regulations, they're all trash. Let's say that did happen. Let's say somebody came in and went, I love my vape. oh, by the way, you lady that signed this bill, you weren't allowed to do that, so this is all trash. Start over. And that would be the greatest thing that would happen for the vapor industry. But it's already too late.
It's also impossible. Want to know why?
Why?
Page 8 and 9, deeming, or as I call them, the damning regulations,
Yep.
gives them sole discretion and authority for everything. But everything has already been moved from the Consumer Product Safety Act into the Tobacco Act. The reason it was done for there, because then it's easy to tax, it's easy to include in smoke-free areas, it's easy to add everywhere.
And it is
To repeal
regulated by the
They would
FDA.
have to then put it back into Consumer Product Safety Act, where it legally fits the definition, legally fits all the required structures, can be fully licensed. The reason they don't want to do that, let's say, use Juul as an example. When they're in the Consumer Product Safety Act, FDA can then go, you product with the Flintstones on it, or you Juul, you are creating this happening until you prove otherwise, you are off the market. Rest of the industry keeps going along. If there's another offender, let's say bad labels, you are now temporarily pulled off the market. You may not retail or sell. They can do it individually. By moving it to the Tobacco Act, they can't do that. They have to go, you are offending the laws, therefore we must penalize all of you with harsher regulations. And that's why it was actually moved, besides the tax and everything else, that's why it was moved to the Tobacco Act. Then they can do a blanket on anything they want, whereas before they had to have cause for specific products.
Yeah, they moved it into the tobacco regulations so the FDA could do whatever they damn well pleased, whenever they wanted, and they could control it. But here's my thought. Let's say, just grins and giggles, they do get somebody in there, wipes it all out, and manages somehow to get it thrown back into where it should be. Is that really going to stop New York from passing a flavor ban, or trying to? Is that going to stop
at state level
California?
and at local level.
They have already done the damage. Even if the FDA
We're
fell off...
classified as tobacco. We are tobacco products.
Yep. Even if the FDA were to fall off the face of the planet tomorrow, all of the states are still going to now be doing the dirty work that they started.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say we get somebody in there that's status quo. And just move along with the flow and keep this going. Nothing's going to change. Then you get somebody in there that's worse. And they move the predicate date back to whenever the hell they want. Tomorrow. Well, I think they have to give us a certain amount of time. 6 months or a year. I don't know. That's one
thing
thing
you can just say, you know what? Now for your predicate date, here are 1,000 other things which you must do to be compliant with them.
HPHCs being one of them. Everybody's hoping that the HPHC is going to move its predicate, to move that date back. But come November this year, if you don't have your stuff tested by a lab and the results given to the FDA by November 8th, legally, you can't sell your product on the market.
One other nasty thought for that.
Yeah.
What if the FDA then comes back and says, oh, but that's not an approved lab for the kind of tests we want? Well, you didn't tell us what kind of tests you want. That's not our problem. You have to deliver them.
And they would do it. And if people don't think that they had, look at what we've already had to jump through. All these little damn hoops just to get to where we are now. And to stay on the market, if they... the whole thing could go sideways very, very quickly. It's why...
No, it's really sad. What's really sad, Mike?
What's that?
Think if they had left us in the Consumer Product Safety Act. Like I said, we fit the legal definitions, the structure, all the regulations actually could have been there. So all these problems with these IP thefts, with these kid appeal labels, with all these other things, they would have had the authority to right then and there say, you're off until you deal with this. You're out until you deal with this. They could have automatically pulled every single one of those off by order and banned them from retail until fixed to their satisfaction. But that's why when they moved to tobacco, they can't pull an individual product out now. Now they have to say, if we're pulling you out, we have to apply to every single person here.
Yep. They've got everybody over a hoop in some of the worst ways. And it's like Bill said earlier, that's why this is so important. Nobody can be left on the sidelines anymore. Matthew Elliott and the people that went up and they worked. Patrick had two gentlemen on, J Love and I apologize, I can't remember the other's name on his last show. Lou, I believe.
I think it was Vic.
Vic, thank you. And those are the people that got off their duff and actually went and stood outside with a sign saying, and it's part of what helped push things back. But if people don't get off their rear end, if they don't get in the game, even if you're just a vapor, join CASAW. If you're a company, join your state legislature, join SFATA, join the VTA. You've got to get not only your voice out there, you've got to help fund what's going on and what's happening. It's hand down. This can't be done minimally anymore.
Something about the state organizations.
Yeah.
Any of these shops like going, oh, well, things are really tight. We just can't afford it. Well, first of all, that's probably because you aren't catering to the smoker. You're just catering to the vapors who know what they're looking for now and go look for the best bargain. But that's set aside. Take, let's say, the first of the month. You're open for business, first of the month. Your first 5 bottles of e-juice that you sell. Take the profits from there. There's your state covered. The rest of the month is yours. And just those first 5 bottles sold will give you enough to cover your state membership.
It is that simple. I'm glad you said that. I really am, because it is. It's that damn simple. And if a shop can turn around and logically and show that that would break them to where they can't stay in business,
they shouldn't be in business.
Damn straight, they have a problem.
Now, even better, those 5 bottles, you and I both know any vape shop, when you open, those 5 bottles are basically going to be taken care of in the first hour or two of business. That gives you the rest of the month. The rest is yours. And you've covered keeping your state associations alive for the fight.
Yep.
And that's all it is. It's not a case of, well, I have to take a certain percentage. 5 friggin' bottles.
Half a day. Half of the first day of the month.
Even 1 or 2 hours, you're done.
And they're done. And
you've done your part, at least, contributing, keeping your state organizations going.
It is so important for that to happen. I just 300. Lindsay brought that thing and she put it in my inbox, and I looked. 300 pieces of legislation that is covering all of the seriously important states. Whether it is a T21, whether it is a flavor ban, taxation on them is huge. There are states out there that are going anywhere from a percent per milliliter of tax, 5 cents, 10 cents, whatever. They are trying 40%.
You realize why the tobacco companies and Juul supported that. They sell little 1.52 millimeter pods.
Yeah.
Tax on that is going to be
tiny,
like that, compared to a 60 mil bottle.
Yep. And this is true, because in Kentucky, I'm not even going to search for the picture. Sitting at the table in Kentucky was the senator who was introducing the T21. On his left was the vice president for Altria, the vice president of the company that makes Marlboro. And on the right, the lobbyist for Juul. And they were all saying, yes, we support the T21. And yes, they would all support the tax.
And the flavor bans and the taxes. They showed up at the California hearings saying vapors don't need flavors. All they need is tobacco, menthol, and mint.
Bullshit.
There is no reason for any other flavor. Those are strictly for kids. And that was tobacco company PMI actually saying that. In Canada, Benson Hedges said the same thing during S5.
Really? No. No. Folks, we are at that point. Like I said, you've got to jump in the fight. You've got to help out. You got to make a phone call, even if it is just one phone call to your state rep. One phone call. Imagine how many phone calls would be received by people in Congress.
And talk to their staffers. Their staffers have their ears and will give you more time. And their responsibility is to sort through all the details of everything.
Who gets to talk to the man or the woman, and who does not? They're the doorkeeper. Oh. Bill, this is one of those points in time where it is just mind-boggling. Simply mind-boggling. Look at all the legislation that is coming along, looking at all the things that are happening, looking at Gottlieb stepping down and going to retire. This is one of the most pivotal times, and everybody had said it. Not everybody. Here I go again. There were some people that said before the end of last year that 2019 would be our hardest year ever. And my God, we haven't even hit the end of March. And look at what's going on.
Now, there's some people who are saying, oh, but what if nothing happens? And there is discussion about somebody coming in and maybe being sidetracked with the opioids or anything else, not to really pay much attention. And they said, yeah, it could hold till 2020 with nobody really getting around to it. Except, again, at your state and your local levels, they will keep passing. And why? While they're already under tobacco, therefore, we are regulating them locally here as that. So that's not going to stop those rules. Secondly, I've seen people say, oh, but they haven't even enforced anything yet, so we don't have to worry because they haven't got the manpower to do it. They don't have to enforce anything. There's nothing stopping them, though, from watching, writing down who's who, who's doing what, and then going in and saying, by the way, you've been doing this retroactively. All those sales are confiscated. You've been in criminal activities this long. We have the proof of this. You've been releasing this. All your money made from that is illegal. We will be confiscating all that. Anything you have as collateral, we will seize that. They don't have to enforce the day of something passing.
No.
They can enforce it at any time and sit and watch. Because what happens if the people, and this is what happens why vapors become so apathetic. We've been hearing for so long, sky's going to fall, sky's going to fall. Day comes. Oh, nothing happened. Next time, next event, sky's going to fall, sky's going to fall. Oh, it arrived and all these new regs said, oh, we're still getting new juice and stuff. Oh, it's nothing. Sky's going to fall, sky's going to fall. Yeah, no one's going to do anything about it. See, they aren't even enforcing it. Then they come in and say, by the way, guys, we gave you time to get out from underneath the sky that was falling. You're gone now.
Yeah. Did you do anything about it? No.
And those are the people who say, nah, screw it. We can do whatever we want. We're too big. First of all, we are that big compared to tobacco. Compared to pharma.
Yeah, you can't even fit it on the screen.
We are not too big. We are like that. And we are very easy to toss in with any data. That's why we need to separate ourselves from the different categories of vape products and tobacco products, at least in the minds of people, so we don't get lumped in with their data. But we are so small that they can do anything they want. And we're screwing ourselves because
it has just gotten to a point where it is that bad.
Oh, no. There are new juices being released each week.
There's new juices that come out every damn day.
And that's part of our problem is those are the ones going, what are they going to do? See, I've been doing this. They haven't touched me. They can't do a thing to me. I'm a strong keyboard warrior. I will fight and yell and say, you guys know nothing. They haven't touched me. I can get away with anything. And then the day they come walking in, that's not fair. They're coming after me now. What? I had no warning.
The biggest one that I saw about that. Well, how come they didn't send me an email? They're not required to send you a damn email. They have a press release. And if you're not paying attention to the press release, you have a problem. All of this is just enough to just boil me. And I'm sure that it's the same with everybody else that's going around right now. It is horrible. 100% horrible.
I said, don't be a vape ostrich. We can't keep burying our heads in the sand any longer. We have to fight back now. And now is about our only chance. If we aren't in the ears of every legislator, every possible candidate in their ears, talk to them, well, guess who is?
Not us.
Campaign for tobacco killing kids.
Yep.
You've got the ants, all the other groups who have been, but the CDC said, and the Surgeon General said, and the FDA said, you guys are all the same. They are already in their ears. And guess what? The other side is organized, and they have deep pockets.
Yes. And they're not going away.
No.
Plain and
they
simple.
don't take breaks. Neither can we.
No. I did find, I've been searching, it's what I was looking for. I did find one thing. It is my favorite clip of all time. And I'm going to play it as the last thing for people to listen to. So, Bill, do you have anything that you want to wrap up with for the evening?
Don't be a vape ostrich.
Yeah. That ain't no lie. Folks, I'm going to wrap this up with a clip, if it plays correctly, a clip from Mr. Phil Bissardo. I want you to listen to it. It's not very long, but it is seriously pointed. And after that, I hope everybody has a great weekend. But you know what's going to happen. I know damn well what's going to happen.
Don't play your porn by accident.
Oh, please. You're killing me. Oh, shit. Yes, there he is. Phil Bissardo. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Phil Bissardo on the screen. It's not a sketcher.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Art. And, it's frustrating. And, as an experienced vapor and as somebody who's done research, into this and understanding the safety of it, like you, like Dimitri, imagine how we feel when we see one of those stories or hear or read one of those stories. You're like, what can I do? What can you want to reach through the screen and choke somebody? It's so infuriating what you see. And, one of the questions that I always ask myself is, from the Royal College of Physicians, they're estimating, we'll say the 95% number, 95% safer than smoking cigarettes, right? Let's say that number wasn't 95, which is a very, very high number, by the way. That's an extremely high number. Let's say that number was only 5%, okay? 5% safer than smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
If you have the potential to save 5% of the lives of smokers, wouldn't you support that?
Right.
Media?
Right.
Wouldn't you support that? Healthcare? Wouldn't you support that? Cancer societies? Right? But why don't you? Why, we're talking about 95%, not 5%, 95% safer.
Right.
Why is this not being supported? Why are we finding obstacles and roadblocks every step of the way? And you know what it keeps coming down to, in my mind, everything? Money.
Absolutely.
All about money. They don't give a shit about your health, public health. They don't care. What they care about is continuing to make money via taxes and via health care. Okay? Because keeping people sick, not curing people and treating people and keeping them sick is big, big money. Imagine if cancer were to be cured right now. Right now, I have in this bottle right here, the cure to cancer. What would happen to our society if that were to happen?
Yeah.
Imagine the economic breakdown that would occur. Imagine the number of people who would be out of jobs. Imagine the number of hospitals that would have to close down instantly, right? I don't like to be a conspiracy theorist, and I never was one until I got involved in this, until I started seeing that this thing that we're doing has the potential to save so many lives, and yet we're coming up with roadblock after roadblock after roadblock, fight after fight after fight. Why? I think it's because of money.
Hey, thanks for calling in, and screw the media. You keep on.